The Wilson 5-head Tenoner. Today we're going to have a bit of a closer look at it. So I've actually been asked to do a video on the Wilson Tenoner just to give a closer look at it and a general overview and that sort of thing. So I've shared a little bit about this in one of my machinery tours, but this particular machine here originally was a 5-head machine, and it's still a 5-head machine, but it's been butchered, and I'll explain that a bit as we go. One of the butcherings that's been done to it is this abomination here. Instead of creating a proper chute up top here for the extraction, some clowns cut a hole in the face of the guard here and just put this in there. One of these days I'll get around to pulling this out and I'll weld a plate over it, but why you would do that is beyond me. But this machine originally was owned by an old friend of ours. He had it for I believe probably since the 60s, maybe 70s, but I think probably 60s. And he had it up until I think the late 90s, and then he sold it to somebody else that I know, and I bought it off them, and they're the ones that have done the abominations on it. So I'll bring the camera in and I'll give you a bit of a look at it closer, and I'll explain a few things about it. So if you can see there, as I said, it's a 5-head machine. So on the switches we've got what do we got here? We've got bottom tenon, top tenon, bottom scribe, top scribe, and then the cut-off saw. It's braked, so we've got a little wedge set up for this. When we're doing sashes, we stick that in to wedge the brake on the top head, just so that the top head remains still. And if we look up to the top here, so we've got this one here is the height adjustment for the top scriber. We've got this one here and this one here. Works your top tenoning head and your bottom tenoning head. Only what's fantastic about these particular machines, these Wilsons, is you can set the thickness of your tenon up so that you can position your heads. Say you wanted a 1/2-inch tenon, you can position your heads so that you got your 1/2-inch tenon between them, and then you can lock the head, or lock the bottom head to the top head, and you can adjust the height of the two heads together at once, rather than having to keep going back and forth individually with the heads like the overwhelming majority of Tenoners are. With the vast majority of the older models, you can't adjust the top and the bottom head together. These ones you can, and it is absolutely brilliant. It really saves a lot of time, because when setting up Tenoners like my other two there, you can't do that with them, and you often find yourself you get one head right and then you get this head wrong, and then you're back and forth, and it just becomes a bit of a pain in the neck. But these things are brilliant when it comes to that sort of thing. So you can see here, this is the scribing heads. So on our bottom head, this machine's set up to do sashes for us. So on our bottom head here, we've just got cutters set up to do the scribe for an ovolo mold. On the top head here, we got, my uncle is an engineer, and we got him to make up this cylinder here for us. So effectively what it's done is it's made this saw, it's turned it into a drunk saw, well, what we call a drunk saw, what others may know as a wobble saw. And this is for cutting the plough through the meeting rail on a double hung window. So when we're doing double hung sashes, we have top and bottom scriber running here, and that saw there, that cuts the plough through the meeting rail. This part here is another part of the abomination that's been done. Usually they would have a cut-off saw coming off here, but in their wisdom they've decided to get rid of the cut-off saw, and they've set up this extra scribe. So this machine actually has the ability to do ovalo mold on the front scribe and splayed mold on this one, which is very handy, but it could have been done a lot better. This looks horrendous. I really dislike it. It's ruined the originality of the machine, and if ever I was to sell it, I would seriously consider putting the cut-off saw back on it. I did get the motor to be able to do it, but I'm just not sure whether there's anything missing out of that. But anyway, that's what they've done. They've put a bit of thinking into it, and it's you know, fairly clever how they've done it, but it looks horrendous, and I really don't like it. Other things that they've done too, things like this setup here, and there's another one back there. They used to have this long guard there that again just makes the machine look awful, and so I removed that. So I don't know the exact age of this machine. It's pretty old. Somebody from England might be able to tell me. It's a Wilson Brothers, made in Leeds. I'm guessing it's probably, well, yeah, I'm guessing, but I'd say it's probably pre-1950s. May even be quite a bit older than that, but if anybody knows, let me know in the comments. Here's some more of the crap that's been added on by somebody. They've just taken a really good machine and just spoiled it in my mind. So this is my other one. This one's a 4-header. Pretty much the same setup as the other one, with the exception of the one less head. This one has top and bottom tenoning heads, top and bottom scribers. We've got this one set up purely just to do long and short shouldered doors. So we only use the top and bottom tenoning heads on this one at this point in time. This one's had a little bit harder life than the other one. The table doesn't run anywhere near as smoothly as what I would like. We've had it off once or twice before and can't really see anything obvious that's going on, but it wants to jam a little bit. So I really need to pull it off again and have another good look and see what's what. But everything is pretty much identical on this machine, and because Dad was a firm believer that the Wilson Tenoner was the best Tenoner that you could get based on his experience, and I've had quite a few now as well, and you know, I've had 2 different Wadkins. I've had a Wadkin EKA and I've had a Wadkin ECA. I swapped the Wadkin ECA for this machine because the little ECA was a good little machine, but this is better. And same with the EKA. I got rid of that because the Wilsons are better. I used to do doors on the EKA, and I've got a machine, another Tenoner here to the side of me here, that was built by the Australian government. So its brand is called a Commonwealth Ordinance. It's an Australian government machine. It's a 5-header as well, and I used to do my sashes on that one when I had the EKA. When I sold the EKA and I bought the little Wilson in front there, I set the Wilson up to do sashes and I swapped over to the Commonwealth Ordinance, and it does our doors because it's a lot bigger machine. These Wilsons are only small. They're only the size of a Wadkin ECA if you know the size of them. In fact, they may even be a little bit smaller than the ECA. The ECA is a bit taller, I think, from memory. But they're a brilliant little machine. Yeah, like I'm very happy that I got hold of both of them. As I said, this one needs a little bit more work, a little bit more attention put into it just to get it working properly, but still a brilliant little machine. The fence system on this needs a bit of work. It's not the fence system, the cramp system. It's not anywhere near as good to use as the other one. So this is the cramping system on this one. Has a big rubber pad under here, and your threaded rod through here is adjusted by these things here, and then it just cramps down. You can see that this part here moves down onto the timber, and that squashes down onto the timber. This one here has this piece broken off, and there's a screw or something under there that on some of the softer timbers that I'm working with can leave an indent in at times, so I need to deal with that as well. We very rarely ever use them, but this is for doing your shoulders. If you worked shoulders, we very rarely ever work shoulders on the Tenoner. We use the stop, mainly simply because our rails are generally longer than the room that I've got here to be able to work shoulder sizes. So this is the scribing head set up on this one. So again, it looks like it's been set up at some point for doing sashes as well. It's got this big saw in there, and it's got some form of, well, they don't even match. That's an ovalo, and that one's just like a squared splay of some manner. I don't know what that's about. I've never used either Scriber on this machine. As I said, it's been set up simply just for doing long and short shouldered doors. So this is the tenoning heads on them. They're a solid block with, well, basically modelled off a square head, if you like, but a solid block. So they're not really that noisy, to be honest. I was going to say they're a bit noisy, but they're not. Compared to my big Commonwealth Ordinance, it's extremely noisy because it's got very big heads on it, where this one's not too bad. Not really sure if this will translate to camera too well, but this is the female version of the mould on our ovalo sash stock. So when we've got a piece of sash stock and we're about to use the Tenoner, it just fits nicely inside of there. So this is as I said, this is the female, the sash stock's the male. It just slops into there, and it stops us having any breakout when we're running through the Tenoner. So I'll just give them a bit of a start and, you know, give you a bit of an idea of what sort of noise they produce. So I'm just talking normally here now, but that's how noisy they are without cutting the machining. So it's not really that bad. When you've got a bit of timber in there and you're actually using it, it can get a little bit noisy. Not too bad though. But they can certainly be a lot louder, which I'll show you with my other one in a sec. So this is the Commonwealth Ordinance, and it is a very big machine. Those rails that the table is running on, they would be, well, at least somewhere between 6 foot, 7 foot long. Very big machine, where the little Wilsons are lucky if they're 5 foot. It's a very big machine. But anyway, the point of this exercise was just to give you a listen to the difference in how noisy this is. Beside the camera, it's a very noisy machine in comparison to the little Wilson. Not that I'm doing the video on this machine, but that's a 5-header as well, but we've only got it set up literally using 3 heads on that, top and bottom tenon and bottom scribe, just for our moulded doors when we're doing a glass door. And so we'll just finish it off there. Hopefully it's given you a little bit of a look at these couple of Wilsons. As I've said before, like, I agree with my dad on this point, is arguably they're the best Tenoners that are made, at least out of the older machines. If not the best, they're certainly up there. I mean, you know, Watkins and Robinsons are certainly good machines as well, but these are my favourites. Yeah, so thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.